500 bucks. That's all you did. A really high example was I paid a guy $25,000 last year. The guy knows nothing about real estate. Nothing. I love sharing what I've learned about real estate to newer investors. I've been a real estate investor for over 13 years now. I do hundreds of real estate transactions per year, and I do it in 3 different states. So right now you're thinking, okay, this sounds great. How do I find more distressed sellers or distressed property? And it didn't take any of your money, right? Because wholesaling, you just found the opportunity. Do not get tripped up here as a beginner. Why did he get 25,000 bucks? Why is a bird dog when I pay him $25,000? Over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you guys the best of condensed version of that. Now, if you decide you'd like to watch the whole thing, you can do that too. By clicking the link beneath or above this video, you can download a full video, or you can just get the audio only. Welcome to episode number 44. The biggest difference between a bird dogger and a wholesaler is knowledge and experience. That's it. Just knowing more, having more knowledge and more experience. So I want to tell you guys right now, start tuning into this if you want to be a bird dogger. Distressed property, okay? You're also looking for distressed sellers. Those are a little harder to find because people don't always show their distress. But when you're talking to people, like Jordan talked about earlier, you're looking for those clues. Remember, he said that the guy, he had the appraisal for $269 in hand, yet he was $259. Right? He's tuned into it. He was tuned into it. You guys notice that? Then he talked to the guy. What did the guy say? Inherited property. Ah, ding. He's tuned into it, okay? So a lot of you guys have seen this stuff, but you haven't been tuned into it. So get tuned into it. It's important as a bird dog. The second thing you need to do as a bird dog is to find your investor. That right there's a picture of a hunter, right? The bird dog's out there pointing to the deals for the investor or the hunter. It's important as a bird dog. You're looking for some key traits in your hunter or your investor. Do they know the values? Do they know how to run comparables? Do they know how to adjust for repairs? Do they have any experience? Do they have buyers? Do they have money? Have they ever flipped before? Do they have options, right? Because the more options your hunter has, if you got a hunter that's just walking around with a knife, that's one thing. What if you got a guy with a knife and he's got a gun and he's got a machine gun and he's got, a whole arsenal of people helping him? Well, that might be the hunter that you want to point on that deal, right? Because his chance of getting that fox or whatever that deal is are a heck of a lot better. Is he an experienced negotiator? Proven ability to close deals. So can they close? Do they know what they're doing? If you're a bird dog again and you're pointing out deals to somebody that's never done it before, you might want to find a different investor. You might want to find a different hunter. I'm going to go to money for you guys. Number one, the low side, you're probably talking $300 to $500. So when would you get $300 to $500? I would say the case for $300 to $500 would be maybe you just pointed out a distressed property. Remember the first slide I had with the picture of the distressed house? I said, be tuned into these distressed houses. If you're driving around a neighborhood and you see a distressed house like that, and you take a picture of it and email it to me or your investor, in the subject line just say, this is 123 Easy Street. That's it. You just said, there's a house, right? Here's the address. And that was all you did? If the investor bought that house, if my team bought that house, I'd pay you $300 to $500. Let's say $500 because I want you guys all to send me those, okay? All right? $500. That's all you did. A really high example was I paid a guy $25,000 last year. $25,000. The guy knows nothing about real estate. Nothing. Why did he get 25,000 bucks? Why is a bird dog when I pay him $25,000?
Made 100 grand on the deal?
Made 50 grand on the deal. It was a wholesale deal, right? It was a great deal. He had rapport with that seller. In fact, it was in his neighborhood, so he recognized the house. He knew the seller, so he had all that going for him. He didn't quite know what to do with the deal. He brought me in on it. I explained a lot of stuff to him, and then I picked it up from there. I went and negotiated with him and the seller. I basically told him, hey, look, this is what you have. He didn't know what he had. I said, this is what you have. Then I gave him his options. I said, you can do this with it, or if you want, I'll do everything, package it up in a nice little bow and get you a $25,000 check. Which would you like to do? And he said, well, I'll take the $25,000 check. You guys curious about that deal? Want more details on that deal?
Sure.
I have a video blog called iloverealestatestories.com. That story, Gino's deal, I've got a 20-minute video, and in that video, you can actually hear the actual negotiation I had with the seller, because my iPhone, I turned it on record, and I sat it right there when we were doing the negotiation. You guys interested? Got a video of that. And you can see as I walk through with Gino, my friend, and I actually talk to him about it and say, hey, would you rather do this, or would you rather make a $25,000 check? You guys get to be privy to that conversation as a fly on the wall. So here's what I want you guys to do. If you want to start doing stuff as a bird dog, a simple thing you can do is drive for dollars. Drive around, you've got your smartphone with you, you see that dilapidated house, take a picture of it, and note the address in the subject line, because the bird dogger just points, right? The wholesaler, he's taking that next step and doing more research and more work on it, okay? So any potential sellers, get paid in some other way, go find your investor, take action. If it's not me, and that's cool, Randall or Jordan, all of these guys are experienced investors, and Matt, they're looking for things, go interview them. If you work better with them, great. But as a bird dog, you do need to get out there and find somebody that is your hunter that you're gonna go, here's the deal, point to them. Cool, so ready for next steps, let's talk about wholesaling. What you're looking for is distress. Now when you find this distressed seller, what you're looking to do is negotiate a purchase price for that property and sign a contract with them at a discount. I didn't have to put any of my own money, or I didn't have to fix up the property, I didn't have to rent the property, I didn't do anything but sell them my interest in that contract. Since then, I've executed hundreds of wholesale deals, and I use it using this exact same model. I still find distress, either properties or sellers. I get those properties under contract at a discount, and I turn around and sell those properties to investors that are flippers or landlords. So right now you're thinking, okay, this sounds great. How do I find more distressed sellers or distressed property? There's the actual question. The hardest part about wholesaling really is just finding these properties or finding these sellers. That's the difference of bird dogger versus a wholesaler. As you get that more experience, you've got to have comps. You got to know how to use the MLS and know what things are worth on your own. If you're counting on agents to do that for you, I love agents, but I want to know for myself. Negotiating the deal. This is extremely important. This is where the rubber hits the road, okay? Being able to talk to people and getting the contract. Wholesaling is all set up. You guys notice that video I said? Everything is set up by you getting a contract. I'm not an agent, so I cannot get paid unless I have equitable rights or interest in that property. Does that make sense? Agents get licensed so they can get paid by transacting real estate. Wholesalers get paid because they get equitable rights or interest in the property by virtue of the contract. When I sign a contract with you to buy a property, I now have equitable rights or interest in that property because I have a contract, which is something is sellable. You can sell that contract, right? And it didn't take any of your money, right? Because wholesaling, you just found the opportunity, you put it under contract. So you've got this contract. You haven't bought anything yet. You've just got a contract. But now, because you have this contract, you can go sell this contract to someone if you'd like to, right? So you're finding the right buyer. So as a wholesaler, it's in your best interest to find the right buyer, meaning the buyer that's going to pay the most money for that contract. Generally speaking, landlords are the best buyers because they're running their numbers different. They're analyzing this property in a different way. They're going to keep it as a long-term rental, and they're looking at it from a cash flow perspective. They're looking at it from their different eyes. Does that make sense? So when you say, well, I want to back into my wholesale fee. Well, your wholesale fee is subjective. Who are you selling it to? Who's your buyer? In fact, there could be a third category here that doesn't happen very often, but an owner-occupant. You find somebody that wants to buy that house. As investors, a flipper wants a deep discount. A landlord, it depends. They'll pay a little bit more. But if you get an owner-occupant, oh my gosh, they've never seen anything of this value. Like everything on the MLS is listed for $200,000. I can get this one for $175. That's a ripping deal, right? So sometimes you can get lucky and find the person that wants to occupy it. If you find an end user, your wholesale fee just went up. You've got the contract, you've got the buyer, they want to pay. Now what? You got to get that ball across the goal line. Do not get tripped up here as a beginner. You get the contract, you get the buyer, you can call any number of people and they will help you get that ball across the goal line. People say, I need to understand this fully before I do anything. Absolutely false. Just get a deal under contract, find a buyer, and all of this stuff you can get walked through. But it's stuff like the title companies, pulling up the PRs and like what day they're going to close and payoffs and getting the seller in there and getting the buyer in there and all this stuff. It's not that hard. That stuff's not hard. A big decision you have to make, though, is an assignment versus a double close. So I mentioned that in the video, but there's two different ways you can do the wholesale transaction. One is an assignment. You have that contract and your name is on it. Your buyer wants to buy that. He has his own cash. So basically you're scratching your name off the contract, essentially. You're not. You're doing an addendum. You're saying, I'm going to step out of that contract and I'm going to let him step into it for an assignment fee. He says, I'm going to pay you $10,000 because I like your contract. I want to be in there. Say, great. He pays 10 grand. I step away. He now closes on the contract. That's an assignment. I never closed on it. I never owned it. My name never went on title. Very clean. There's no costs. $10,000 or whatever it is you worked out is in your pocket. The second type is a double close. A double close is you have the contract, you close it, you own it. You are now the recorded owner on title. This person then steps in behind you and buys it from you. You actually sell it to them, have a second closing. First closing, you buy from the seller. Second closing, you close with your new buyer. Why would you do that? It costs you more money. You've got to come to the table with money. Why would you want to do that? A couple of different reasons for that. One, your large spread. If you're making 50,000 bucks, you might not want them to say, hey, it's a $50,000 assignment fee, because they might get a little squirrely with that. They're cool with the value, but the 50,000 bucks, they're like, hang on a second, you're making a little bit too much money here. So if you're worried about that, go ahead and close on the deal and then sell it to them. The second thing is, as a courtesy to your buyer, even if he knows that you're making 53 and he's cool with it, when he buys that, so let's say it's a $50,000 contract, he's willing to pay 100 for it. I've seen this before, okay? This was a transaction I did. 50,000 bucks he buys. Instead of doing an assignment, I bought it and sold it to him. So now his HUD, his settlement statement, showed a $100,000 purchase price. This is important, right? Follow us here. My contract's for 50. And when I go to close it and sell it to him, if he's paying me a $50,000 assignment fee, on the settlement statement, you have a $50,000 purchase price and a $50,000 assignment fee. So what's the purchase price? $50,000. It's not 100 grand. He paid 100, but on the HUD it's 50. Now when you guys go to resell a property, you've got your flipper hat on over here. You flipped it up, fixed it up, and you've added value, forced appreciation. You've got a buyer's chomping at the bit to buy it from you. They want to buy it from you for 150 grand. Perfect. Ready to go, right? Well, don't let this happen to you. At the end of that day, the lender says, great, we noticed you title transferred about 4 months ago. What did you purchase the property for, Mr. Investor? You're going to go, I hope you guys like that, and if you did, do me a favor, share it with somebody else you feel like would benefit from that. And also, if you'd like to see the whole thing, click the link beneath this video, and you can watch the whole thing right now. You can download the video, or you can just listen to the audio-only version of that. Either way, I think it'll be really valuable for you. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you.